you've got this unique methodology for finding and validating ideas that you've built software products off of. Do you want to just kind of walk us through that method?
One of the things that works for me is just launching a waiting list, right? So let me take you back. I've just launched a new company actually called bookmagic.ai, which we launched a week ago. On day one, we got $100,000 worth of ARR. So what about eight and a half thousand MRR on day one? It was one of these business ideas that I didn't even want to do. Like I wasn't even totally into the idea of doing this, but my team came to me. We own a publishing company. My team came to me and they're like, "Hey, we can use AI to like assist authors to write books. They can tell it their idea. It structures the chapters, does all this cool stuff." And I'm like, "Okay, like, do you think the AI is going to write the book for them?" No, it won't do that. It's going to do this. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So we kind of like have a conversation. I say, "Look, I'm really stretched a bit at the moment. Here's what we'll do. We'll launch a waiting list. What we'll do is we'll just tell people a few things about what we think the software can do. And if we get 150 people on the waiting list, then we'll have some more meetings about it. We'll like talk about putting together a team or something like that. All we do is set up a waiting list using scoreapp.com. And then what we do is I go onto LinkedIn and I say, we're thinking of running this software and it's going to be helping authors to write books. Anyone who wants to write a book can tell it an idea, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, 750 people join the waiting list. It goes a little bit viral. People are asking questions in the comments. And I go, oh, okay, wow, okay, we're going to have a serious conversation about this. By the time we have the meeting, it's 1,100 people are on the waiting list. Now, when they join the waiting list, we ask them, what are you trying to achieve? What frustrations have you got? What have you tried that hasn't worked? What features are you most excited about? And what price point do you think this will be priced at that would be a fair price point? Which is not a great question. There's better questions than that, but we asked just a simple question.
Anyway, for the product?
Yeah, for the product. If you were to subscribe to a product that helps you to write a book, what would you expect to pay, basically? So we tell them a little bit about it. And anyway, what blew me away is that I'm expecting this to be about a $19 a month product, maybe $29 a month. 50% of people said that they were expecting $39 to $100, like between the scales that we had between $40 and $100 a month. That was first thing that kind of blew me away, that people really were now everyone's going to lowball you anyway. They're going to give you a lowball price. So their lowball price was $40 to $100, depending on, the breakdown. So we crunch some numbers. I get my CFO, we do a spreadsheet, we, do a forecast. We look at, sort of how much is it going to cost to build this thing and how many users do we think we can extrapolate? And we figure out pretty quickly that once we hit, if we go with £39 a month, about $45 a month, if we go with something like that, I think it came out at like 1,600 subscribers. It would be washing its face with a development team. It would, it would have the front end, back end. It would have a little bit of ads budget, a little bit of PR, a little bit of SEO, and we could wash our face with this project. I'm thinking we've got 1,100 people on the waiting list, and we haven't even hit the main databases. We haven't emailed our main lists, anything. Like, we can totally do this. So I'm like, damn it, I'm launching another business. Actually, it gets even better than that. I took the data and I took it to some friends of mine who are angel investors and who are also influencers. They got big databases and big social media followings. And I said, do you guys want to come join me on this? I'm gonna raise $250,000 from angels. Here in the UK, we have this thing called SEIS, Seed Enterprise Investment Scheme, so a tax incentive for high net worths to invest into small businesses. So I said, I'm going to do an SEIS round. We're going to do 10% of the company for $250,000. So at this point, we haven't written any code. We haven't done anything other than the waiting list. And we raised $250,000 at a 2.5 million, just basic little, like just for the idea. So that was probably a few months ago. And then we put together a little dev team, created version 1, got 30 people using it. They loved it, made some tweaks, made some changes, and then did a soft launch last week and signed up our first 250 clients at $45 a month.
No, I was going to ask, how many times have you done this? Like, this isn't your first rodeo,
It's
right?
not my first rodeo.
How many businesses are you running? How many of them came off the list like this? Just how many reps do you have?
I've done a lot of startups, and actually, I know this sounds like such a wanky thing to say, but I would genuinely have to go through and like work out. I've bought and sold companies. I've done a lot of acquisition. So I used to own a social network with 600,000 members, and I bought that and sold that. So I bought it, turned it around, and sold it in 10 months. I had an IT services agency which I bought, sold, bought back, and looking at selling that again. At the moment, I've got a group of 8 companies that I run. So I've got a training and development company, book publishing, PR, search engine optimization agency, an ads agency, a fundraising investor relationships agency. So we've got a group of agencies, and then the big one is Score App, which is essentially a technology platform for generating quizzes, scorecards, and assessments. That just won Scale Up of the Year in the UK.
Yeah, Daniel, a lot of our clients are and listeners of the podcast run established SaaS companies. So I love this. I'd imagine they're sitting there, some of them kicking themselves that they didn't use a quiz as a way to, and your approach is half waitlist, but I think when I think waitlist, it's like landing page, drop your email in, but you actually had more questions in to give you
You
some
got to
data and
do that.
insights on how the
You got to do that. You have to. If the point of the waiting list is to get the data, so you need to know what is what are the features that they're interested in. What are the key frustrations they're trying to solve. What are their hopes, dreams, and expectations for the product? So you've got to get really clear about that, because in the early days of any SaaS product, you've got to be really good at just a few things. I always talk about software tends to either be a bread knife or a Swiss Army knife. So a Swiss Army knife does 25 things badly, and a bread knife does one thing really, really well. And it's interesting because we all love buying Swiss Army knives, but how often do we use them? Maybe once a month. But we use our bread knife every day, right? Because so the key thing I'm looking for when I'm creating a software product, especially initially, it's like I got to zero in on that very narrow little feature set that we're going to be absolutely world class at that, and we're not going to confuse our customers. We're going to take them on a journey. They're going to, we're going to get thousands of them signed up to one or two things that it does well, and then we're going to slowly add some features so that it doesn't overwhelm them. Right? They understand the product. They go on a journey with us. Given the fact that any piece of software could focus on, let's say, a dozen things, I need to know what are the 2 or 3 things that we should focus on. The other thing is price. I've got to figure out the price. Now, if I really have time with customers, I ask them several questions about price. So I ask them, here's a couple of questions. At what price is this so cheap that you would doubt that it's any good? That's a great question. And then at what price does this become prohibitively expensive and that you just wouldn't consider it? So I want to kind of get a range somewhere in that range.